I'm Ro Parrish, and I'm joined by none other than the 12th pick in the 1991 NBA Draft, GA Greg Anthony.
What's going on, my man? You're looking very dapper here tonight as well.
Appreciate that. You're a little sharp yourself. So we're less than a week away from the draft, and we're still a bit away from free agency. But, of course, the news that broke the internet today were reports that Kawhi Leonard wants out of San Antonio, multiple reports saying that he wants to play in Los Angeles. What were your initial thoughts when you heard this?
Not surprised. Well, we speculated about this, that relationship was irreparable in terms of how it played out over the course of the season. And it's probably going to be best for both teams, teams being the Kawhi Leonard team and the Spurs, to move in different directions. But it creates a really interesting scenario in terms of free agency, and the draft is going to play a role in that. I'm going to be anxious to see what types of deals are put on the table, because it's not just about San Antonio and what they want. Kawhi's going to have leverage, because if he's not willing to sign with a team, they're not going to give up a lot of assets for him. So there's going to have to be some consolidation by both and compromise by both the Spurs and Kawhi.
A number of teams are interested, and we're going to touch on that right now as we jump right in with our insider from the San Antonio Express News, Jabari Young. Okay, give us the latest on this situation. How did we get here? We've heard multiple conflicting reports. Did Pop and Kawhi meet? Did they not? Tell us the latest.
Well, they haven't met yet. You know, what I'm told, they've spoken kind of over mobile a little bit, but at the same time, being face-to-face is completely different. But how you get here is that, all the stuff that transpired during the season, from the fact that his representation felt like he was misdiagnosed to the point that the San Antonio Spurs maybe weren't as supportive as they could have been regarding his injury. And then you got little shots being taken from, Greg Popovich, when he was asked about Kawhi and his status, about how you got to ask his group. And Tony Parker, though his comments were kind of taken out of context slightly, hey, my injury was 100 times worse than his. Stuff like that. You just can't do that with your franchise player. It's a new era. Tim Duncan's gone. You have to be a little bit more delicate to today's player and how you handle that. And Kawhi Leonard is certainly a talent that you definitely don't want to lose. And you don't want to kind of alienate him. And people say, oh, Kawhi quit on it. That's not true. Kawhi wanted to get back on the court. He wanted to play. The man came down with an injury that was out of his control, an injury that he suffered while he was playing with your team. So, it's like one of those things where I think so much damage has been done, so much trust has been lost, so much, betrayal, as the word was used today, has been captured that, they feel like, hey, maybe it's best for both parties to go to go our separate ways. And if Greg Popovich doesn't get into a room with Kawhi Leonard, and even his representation, both of everybody in one room with Greg Popovich to kind of to have some dialogue, then I think you're on a path of nowhere. And the best thing to do is to trade Kawhi Leonard and get the assets that you need to rebuild for the future.
So you have sneak dissers and drama. That's something that's not necessarily associated with the Spurs in the past. So you spoke about possible destinations. Where are some of those teams that he possibly could be heading to?
Well, listen, I think if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, the fact that your name was out there has to hold a little bit of weight with you, right? I mean, if you're Magic Johnson, you get on the phone with R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich and say, hey, listen, pick whoever you want. Take whoever you want from our roster. We don't care, because we're going to get Kawhi Leonard. We might get LeBron James. We might get Paul George. We're building our own three-headed monster. You want Kyle Kuzma? You want Brandon Ingram? You want Julius Randle? Come on, come take. We'll even toss in a draft pick. And, hey, listen, Greg Popovich, you never have to pay for a meal ever in your life when you come to San Antonio. All the wine, all the food is on us. We'll sort of take care of for you, okay? Don't worry about it. The whole team, in entire fact. So, I think the Lakers hold a lot of leverage. If you're the Sixers, I think you're definitely going to try to get your name involved, with Markelle Fultz and Robert Covington and your old friend Brett Brown. Would that be enough to entice you to make a deal? But there's going to be a whole bunch of packages, a whole league. Michael Jordan loves Kawhi Leonard. Is he willing to part ways with Kemba Walker and maybe some other assets to make a deal happen? So, there's going to be a whole bunch of things that the San Antonio Spurs have to choose from, a whole bunch of options that they have to choose from. But I think option number one is you do whatever you have to do within the next 48 to 72 hours or even longer to try to save your franchise player, a guy that was homegrown, a guy who's a top 5 player in the league, a guy who's arguably the best two-way player in the league. You do what you do to try to make it work. But if you find out that it cannot be worked out, then you got to go your separate ways and you choose the best deal possible.
That is Jabari Young. Thank you so much for joining us. This situation continues to unfold. We got to have you back to get your take. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
So this situation is just so bizarre, so weird. Let's talk about some of the possible landing spots. You have the Boston Celtics, who apparently, reportedly, had a trade out there before the trade deadline. Now that might resurface. Look at some of their assets.
Yeah, and quite frankly, even though it may not be his ideal destination, I think this is the best scenario from the Spurs standpoint because they've got not just young assets, but proven commodities. When you look at Rozier, obviously Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they've got lottery picks that could also be a part of this deal. And if you're going to give up something as a player as significant as Kawhi Leonard, then you want to put yourself in a position where you aren't just rebuilding, but retooling. And that's what I think Boston would give them the opportunity to do because of those incredibly talented young players they have on that roster.
A number of incredibly young, talented players that you're speaking about for Boston. What about the players coming in next week into the NBA draft? Michael Porter Jr. is one of them. A lot of things going on with him. We're going to tell you all about it coming back on Game Time.
He is really good with the ball. I mean, you're getting a little glimpse of what this kid is able to do.
My name is Michael Porter Jr. and I went to the University of Missouri.
Porter Jr. for three, and it's good.
I would say my game models Kevin Durant
Curry to Durant for the slam.
/ Tracy McGrady.
First team back putting on the show, taking it to the rack.
My best attribute on the court is my shooting ability. My biggest influence is my dad. You know, he was the one that put the ball in my hand at a young age. He put this whole basketball thing in me, woke me up at 5 a.m. to work out. And he's just the one that keeps me going and make sure that I stay humble and grounded. And I've faced a lot of obstacles. I would say the last one is this back surgery that I had my freshman year that kind of helped me out from competition. Where all that bounces back, that left leg strength, that's back. And so all that explosiveness is really coming back, which is something, you know, I didn't have when I stepped on the court in Missouri just because of that deficit of muscle loss from the surgery and everything. I'm feeling great, man. I couldn't be more happy.
Porter Jr. driving off glass for two.
I'm getting tired of people saying that I don't play defense because I lock up. Man, the feelings I get when Commissioner Silver calls my name up there are going to be, I mean, I won't even have words to describe it. It's something I've been working for all my life, and it's going to be the best day of my life.
That's Michael Porter Jr., one of the most highly touted players coming out of high school, going to Missouri, and, of course, one of the lottery picks that will be made in the NBA draft next Thursday. Joining us, Sam Amick from the USA Today, and you got to give us the update. Apparently, this workout's been going on. Tell us exactly what's going on. A lot of things have been said about Porter Jr.
Yeah, guys. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. easily the most compelling, I think prospect in the top 5, top 10 because of the health stuff. And what I think is so interesting is that you have this unofficial calculus between talent and the risk and the reward. If you take one team, for example, Sacramento sitting there at the number 2 spot. And honestly, if I'm just being candid here, the idea that they are considering him mostly for me seems insane because of the risk that comes with the back injury, but the talent is that great. And so they are trying to turn over every single rock. They're trying to get outside medical to look at him like they did today with a second look in Chicago. And they're basically waiting for somebody, hoping for somebody from the medical community to give them a green light and give them an excuse to pick a guy who they think can be transcendent. And they're not alone. If you go down the top 5 a little bit, I do not think Atlanta is going to be touching Michael Porter Jr., but Memphis is definitely thinking about him. I think he's still in the running for that 4 spot. The talent is getting everybody's attention, and the health certainly is a major concern.
So let's just play devil's advocate right now. Let's say the medical reports don't come back the way Sacramento would like them to. Who are some of the other players they are looking at with that number 2 pick?
So I've been told that it's the group of 3, Luka Doncic and Marvin Bagley. Bagley, I think they're extremely high on, and you cannot, I don't think you can go wrong going that direction if that's ultimately what they do. They would love to have a big like him who can shoot a little bit, but it doesn't shoot like Porter, and that's what got their attention with Porter. When they went to that first open workout, one other executive from a rival team that told me that Vlade Divac and Peja Stojakovic, they looked like 2 guys who were smitten. They had their eyes on Porter and the way he shot the ball, and that seems to be their real focal point. But Bagley would be a great option. Doncic is a tough one to handicap because you have the obvious connection, Serbian players, Serbian front office, and the idea that he is a playmaker, he makes guys around him better. But, this is the lying season where smoke screens are prevalent. I will say I don't think it's a smoke screen. I think Sacramento, for whatever reason, is somewhat, kind of measured on Doncic. I don't think he's on the top of their list, but we'll see if that ends up being the case.
Hey, Sam, do you think we know there's pressure on this front office because they have not had a great history in terms of lottery picks over the last several years, but do you think that they want to try to make a splash to kind of alleviate some of that pressure and therefore are willing to take a bigger risk maybe than someone else would with that number 2 pick?
Yeah, Greg, I do. And here's what I think is so interesting about their makeup of their front office. On the one hand, you could look at it and say there's pressure, so you don't want to make a risk and be too far out over your skis and do something like Porter because you've already had some swings and misses. Harry Giles, let's not forget, they're extremely high on, but he's had a ton of health stuff himself, didn't play his rookie year, and that's already a calculated risk situation they got involved in. But what is unique about the front office, and I kind of love this part, is that honestly, Vlade in particular is at a stage in life that honestly I don't think the guy is operating from a position of fear whatsoever. If he got the tap on the shoulder tomorrow and Vivek Ranadive, their owner, said, hey, it's been a fun ride, but it's not working for us, I don't think he's losing a ton of sleep. And I think that empowers him to potentially, go do something that might be a little riskier than other executives would do, but maybe it pays off. To your question, I think they are looking to make a splash, whether it's this situation, whether it's a trade. It's been a long time. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2006. I think they're trying to speed up this process here.
Now, Sam, you mentioned making a splash and taking swings and misses. With all this Kawhi Leonard news coming up today, we know the Kings are located in California. Not specifically the destination Kawhi spoke about allegedly.
Right.
Did the Kings even have a shot to land the claw?
I mean, I have no reason to believe that they do have a shot. You got the California connection. I mean, I could sit here and make a kind of a lighthearted argument for the fact that Kawhi, personality-wise, might be better suited for the Sacramento market. I've talked to people around the league today who find it somewhat comical that he's so interested in going to play for the Lakers when the man really doesn't enjoy the spotlight. And that's, certainly his right, but that's been the way he's been wired since he came into the league. And so it doesn't necessarily reconcile the way that he kind of approaches things with what comes with Lakerland and that spotlight. Sacramento would be a different look. And, they would have to put that number 2 pick on the table, I think, to get the Spurs' attention. And it would be another, again, a calculated risk because he's going to be up next summer. You're not going to get any promises whatsoever. You're probably going to get a promise from his camp that he's not going to resign. And, and honestly, I don't think they have the group around him where they can go in confidently and saying, all right, we're going to be a playoff team. We're going to make enough noise to convince him to come back. I'd probably advise against going down that road if you're giving up major assets.
So the Kawhi news broke the internet Friday, but Thursday night, Mike Bibby and the picture that surfaced on the internet broke the internet as well. So is there any chance that Mike Bibby might be joining the Sacramento Kings as the strength and conditioning coach? Do you have any update on his current position with the organization?
I got to get a little taste of what he's doing. I was cracking up earlier on the jump on ESPN. Byron Scott was not holding back. He was saying, I don't want to get tested, but Mike is doing something that's puffing him up a little bit. I mean, I covered Mike back in the day. I always enjoyed Mike, but my goodness, he's hitting them weights. And I love how I think the caption was like just a light workout with my son. I mean, he's trolling big time. He knows that he was showing off that new physique to the world.
Oh, man, that's awesome right there. I got to get in the gym, get like your son. Sam Amick, way to come with, my man. Thank you very much for joining us.
All right, guys. Thank you. Appreciate you.
GA, are you going to get on the Bibby workout plan?
No, man. Them days is gone. gone, baby.
Let's get back on track. So we know the lottery's coming up. Yeah. And you have some ideas, some perspective of who you like and who is going.
Yeah, I got a sneaky suspicion. DeAndre Ayton, I think the Suns are going to feel the pressure to take who many consider the consensus, although I don't know that I could say there is one in this draft. And as we talk with Sam, I think Michael Porter Jr.
So you do have Porter going too?
I think they're going to swing for the fences, which really sets up nicely for the Hawks to kind of have the pick of the litter. There's talk that they may go with Trae Young at this spot if they want to ship Schroeder. But Marvin Bagley, I think, is a chance to be a real star. Luka Doncic as well.
I think he slips to 4?
Well, listen, it's not like he's going behind chopped liver. And Michael Porter Jr. changes everything if he ends up going in the top 3, which he was projected to go prior to the back injury. So, Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Mavericks, potentially. I think Trae Young, then being the first point guard taken, could end up with the Magic. The Bulls, I love Mo Bamba. I think he has as high a ceiling as anybody in the draft. Wendell Carter, I think, would be tough for the Cavs to pass up. He reminds me so much of an Al Horford. And Mikal Bridges with the Knicks, he's the one guy that I have the most questions about in terms of a potential lottery pick. And a sleeper for me is Kevin Knox, 6'9", 6'10", has a similar skill set to Porter Jr. And I don't even know that he showed as well in college as he has been showing in the workouts. They had a lot of other things going on with that roster at Kentucky. The chemistry wasn't great, but he was the one bright spot, I thought, in terms of being consistent with his perimeter shooting, great size, and really the prototype for what you'd want in today's NBA at that small forward.
Yes, indeed. Plenty of draft coverage coming up on this network here. But up next, Candace Parker putting in work. She had 11 assists and a lot of points. But did they get the victory? Find out next. Game time. Coming back in a minute. Sparks, Mystics, Candace Parker always getting buckets, and she would get buckets in this game. And they jump out to a big lead. GA, what you think about her?
You know, she's just so fluid at her size, her versatility, not just the scorer, but she's a terrific passer and also plays well without the ball.
Very nice indeed. You see it with the cut right there, getting the layup. And then there's Raquana Williams. She has 16 points, did not miss a shot in the game.
Splash from deep.
That is efficiency. Sparks up at halftime by 18, but the Mystics get back in it. I mean, what are you doing?
You're getting your feelings hurt.
You leave
her.
You can't leave her all alone.
There.
18 points in the game, still doing work, but this time sharing the basketball.
Yeah, good ball movement there. And the Mystics trying to make this interesting.
Yes, they are. Monique Curry knocked it down, and then Tierra Ruffin-Pratt ties the score at 76. Fourth quarter. Sparks respond. More Candace.
Give and go.
Woo, that's how you do it. 23 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds. And she would make the free throw on the and one. Time to close it out. What time it is, GA?
Buckets.
Yes, indeed. Elena Beard. Sparks get the victory on the road. Aces and wings, and there is the WNBA's leading scorer, Skylar Diggins-Smith.
That lefty is so pretty.
It is. Gets you 22 points per game. You saw it, and then you see Kayla McBride. The mid-range game is on point. But the Wings go on a 12-2 run. There is Diggins again.
My daughter Ella's favorite player. Skylar Diggins is just so much fun to watch.
Cam Bays. Post-game, highly effective. Second half, Dallas in control. But the Aces won't fold. Asia Wilson, the #1 overall pick, has been so impressive this season.
She is going to be an incredible talent. And you know what? Being from Vegas, you want to see the hometown team do well. Struggling a little bit. I can empathize. I was on an expansion team once before. It wasn't pretty.
No, it was not. Cam Bays closing it out, doing work in the painted area. 28 points, a career high. 18 rebounds. Dallas victorious. They win by 10. The NBA family mourns the loss of women's basketball legend and pioneer Ann Donovan, a Hall of Fame player and a beloved head coach. Ann Donovan will be remembered as a pioneering figure in the history of basketball.
Ann Donovan became nationally known as a freshman at Old Dominion University, where she helped the Lady Monarchs to a national title in 1980. She would go on to win the Naismith College Player of the Year Award in 1983.
Ann Donovan changed the game. She was intelligent, she was a team player, she was a factor on both offense, defense, unselfish, really a great teammate to have.
At 6'8", Donovan also became a centerpiece of the U.S. women's national team, winning Olympic gold medals in 1984 and again in 1988.
She was one of the best that ever played, and she proved it. She's the ultimate winner.
Ann would begin her WNBA coaching career in Indiana, and then led the Charlotte Sting to the WNBA Finals in 2001.
Every possession is critical, okay? We're in the driver's seat. We're driving this thing on home.
Donovan's next coaching stop would be Seattle.
And Lauren, if you're watching and JB set the screen and they go under it, move your screen down a little bit.
She became the first female head coach to win a WNBA championship when the Storm took the title in 2004.
She was a lot of fun to play for, very easy to play for. She really understood what it was like to be a player, and I thought that was really valuable.
She definitely was one of my good friends, and she taught me a lot. She worked really hard on broadening my offensive game. She was a great coach.
Flare screen on the back, off the ball screen, and Candace another down screen.
Donovan returned to the international stage as head coach of the 2008 U.S. Olympic team, leading the way in Beijing. She would earn her third Olympic championship. A Hall of Fame player, a beloved head coach, Ann Donovan will be remembered as a pioneering figure in the history of basketball.
Sun, Storm. There's Breanna Stewart ready to put in work. Both of these teams sitting at the top of their respective conferences. To the second half, Breanna Stewart, check out this hook shot, GA.
Oh, with the left. And the harm.
There it is, 23 points. She would make the free throw. Shanae Agumake, very efficient. She had 30 points, career high.
She was incredible, and they would not give this game away easily, but Seattle just too strong.
Natasha Howard, a career high 25. Storm get the victory at the buzzer. It is all about the Big O. Lifetime Achievement Award coming at the NBA Awards June 25th. Hall of Famer champion. GA, your thoughts?
One of the all-time best players of the game of basketball. Incredible career. Also a pioneer for what he did for the players in terms of free agency. Big fan. Love the Big O.
Definitely a big player. Russell Westbrook, he's great, but the first player to average a triple-double was
the Big O.
We all know. It's Roe. It's GA. We out of here.